And I think we're live. Welcome to Set Impact, where we discuss how emerging technology is changing sectors, society, and the world at large. For a brief period of time, for 6 weeks, I'll be speaking to some founders solving some of the hardest and most interesting problems over LinkedIn Live. Today, we have Praapti, the CEO of Arogya. Am I pronouncing that right?
It's AarogyaAI.
AarogyaAI. Could you tell us the vision and mission of your company, please?
Most definitely. So Arogya literally translates to health or healthy. And the mission of Arogya is to drive health and wellness into the society. And we want to do this by combating antimicrobial resistant diseases. Our bigger vision is to combat AMR, which is going to kill about 10 million people every year by 2050 if nothing's done about it. But we're starting out now and trying to solve that at this point. And the first thing we're going to go after is tuberculosis, because that's one of the most lethal, it is the most lethal infection in the world right now. It claims more lives than any other infectious disease. So that's our mission, to eliminate these infectious diseases, or at least combat them.
That's really interesting. I mean, tuberculosis has kind of plagued humans for centuries. And how did you come to learn about tuberculosis and become interested in it? It'd be great for you to kind of highlight, the founding story of your company.
Definitely, I'd be happy to share. So I've been brought up in a family of doctors. My grandfather was a tuberculosis physician. So my first memory of ever hearing or knowing about TB was, I was a 4-year-old playing around where a patient calls my granddad for an appointment, and he says, yes, come to my office tomorrow, but you must bring your spit. To me, that was really fascinating because when you diagnose tuberculosis, you have to take a sputum sample to test it. So that's my very first memory of being very fascinated by, why do you need to bring your spit? And as I grew up and learned biology, which was a natural propensity for me, just growing up in this family of doctors, I learned more and more and started feeling very strongly about infectious disease. And it was, I did my bachelor's and master's in biotechnology. A natural course was a PhD after that. So that was in tuberculosis research. I felt very strongly about infectious disease because there's something we can do to fix it. And so I spent the last 7 years doing tuberculosis research in the laboratory, but I think I wanted more. And the mandate of the institute that I was at was translational science. So translation literally means taking research from the laboratory to the market. And drawing from that inspiration, I founded AarogyaAI, where we take research to real world application to help patients.
That's really interesting. I mean, from my limited understanding about tuberculosis, why is tuberculosis so hard to diagnose, and what aspects of the diseases aren't fully understood yet that make it really difficult to understand and diagnose?
There are various facets of the disease that are really hard to combat, but we've been coexisting with TB since the time of the Egyptian mummies. It's been around for centuries, and research has been, constantly playing catch up with the bacteria, because the bacteria is constantly evolving, and we are just constantly playing catch up with it. So it is because of survival that bacteria evolves, and we need to keep up. And long story short, because we're just trying to play catch up, we can't completely win, and it's essentially a game between both of these competitors. And the exact problem that we're trying to solve is that we think it's ridiculous that more people die of TB than any other infectious disease globally, even though it's a curable disease. So there are 19 drugs to cure TB, but doctors don't always know which drugs will work for whom. And as a survival mechanism of the bacteria, it has evolved to become resistant to drugs that are technically used to kill it. And that emergence of drug resistance has exacerbated the problem. Now, for us to find out which drugs will work for which patient, it's a 4 to 6 week long test where you grow the bacteria in the laboratory. So patients are prescribed empirical medication for that amount of time to figure out exactly what's going to work. And what it ends up happening is that the patients are playing a game of trial and error with sometimes having ineffective drugs. AarogyaAI puts a stop to that. We diagnose drug resistance in tuberculosis in a matter of a few hours, very rapidly and comprehensively, exploiting genomics and artificial intelligence. And that's how we try to stay ahead in the game with the bacteria.
That's amazing. So, I mean, do you guys take into account the human immune response, the genome, the DNA, biomarkers? You're going to have to guard yourself a little bit because obviously, I don't want you. I mean, obviously, you don't want to reveal your IP, but could you kind of unveil the? Could you kind of highlight to the audience a few of the components that are needed to be considered when designing an algorithm that can accurately diagnose the right drugs to provide the patients?
Definitely. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you an analogy. You can see that Praapti has black hair because you can see it. It's called the phenotype. But if you didn't have, if you couldn't see me, you had access to my DNA. It's coded in my DNA that Praapti is going to have brown eyes, Praapti will have black hair. That's exactly what we do with the bacteria. Instead of waiting for the bacteria to grow in the laboratory and test whether a particular drug will kill it or not, we simply look at its DNA. Its genomic sequence tells us whether a particular drug will effectively kill that bacteria or the bacteria is resistant to that drug. So we simply exploit the genome of that bacteria in order to figure out its susceptibility status. And that's pretty much the crux of the technology we're building. Of course, there are layers of data to it. There's been years of research that has gone in that we're assimilating, aggregating, and putting together in order to step up in this genomic solution. So that is a larger picture of how we're delivering. The longer term goal or target that we have is so with each data set that goes into this algorithm that we're building, it makes it more and more robust. Eventually, we're going to have a data set that is going to contain a lot of patient information or information from the bacteria that is causing, that is infecting the patient. We intend to have this database aggregate all the information that is currently sitting in silos. It's all fragmented. Once it's aggregated in one place, everybody can benefit from it. That is the vision that we have in the context of what we're trying to build. You asked about the human immune component. It's an interesting aspect, which is in line with precision medicine. However, in infectious diseases, unlike in cancers, the drugs target these specific bacteria. So looking at genomic sequences of the specific bacteria make us decide the drug susceptibility status. So at this point, we're not looking at the human component or the human immune response in this context. But as we grow, we intend to explore that host pathogen response going forward, for sure.
That's really interesting. I mean, where are you guys at from a product standpoint? You know, I understand you guys came out with an accelerator, but I mean, from a product standpoint right now, I mean, are you guys doing clinical trials? Could you kind of highlight where you guys are at?
Yes, definitely. So my co-founder of Lokita, she's the CTO, and she's been working really, really hard in getting all of these data points together. We've established collaborations with research groups who have created these data points, published their work, had experience working on this. So currently, in the past 1 year, we've been able to build our prototype. We're getting over 90% accuracy for 4 drugs. We have about 70% for 6. So we're constantly evolving the algorithm. With each additional data point, the algorithm simply gets stronger and stronger. We're partnering with Illumina, which is the largest genomics company in the world. It's San Francisco based. And along with them, we're doing our clinical validation. So the clinical validation will deem the algorithm fit or unfit to use in a clinical setting. And that's what we're working on. So we're taking historical data and comparing our algorithm to it to show how robust it is.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, realistically, is there? I mean, is there a number of like data points? I mean, how vast does your data set need to be in order to be able to come up to an algorithm that, you know, can spit out maybe 95% accuracy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, you don't want to go and tell a patient, hey, I'm 60% sure this drug is not going to work on you. So that's definitely not going to happen. We strive for above 95% accurate. I mean, as much as possible to be able to make this prediction for sure. We're seeing this at about 1,000 samples for 4 drugs. We're being able to see this kind of accuracy. Now, what is important is that this is, again, as a biologist talking about machine learning and data points. Please pardon me for any technical inconsistencies, but about 1,000 data points is sufficient for us to see above 97% accuracy for 2 drugs. And that is simply based on the balanced data sets, the balanced nature of data sets. So it's not like so many data points will give us so much accuracy, but for each drug, there has to be a particular balance and the robustness of data for it to translate to accuracy and increase. So we have about 2,000 data points already. We're looking at generating another 1,000 of the Indian cohort within the next 6 to 8 months. So hopefully it just grows and we can increase our list of drugs on the drug susceptibility report further and further.
Yeah, I mean, what were you doing just before you went into EF to kind of co-found this company? I mean, for the audience that don't know who EF are, spoken to a number of their founders. Essentially, it's an accelerator that gets some of the smartest people in a room and gets them to network to eventually start some companies. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's the crux of it. So what were you doing just before EF? And yeah, could you kind of highlight your story leading up to EF and EF as well?
Definitely. I really enjoy telling this one. So I submitted my PhD thesis on a Friday in Delhi. On Tuesday, I flew to Bangalore to start the EF cohort. So that's what I was doing immediately before. So I've been a part of academia, and I wanted to explore the option of working in the industry because you have a few months before you can defend your PhD thesis. I wanted to explore the options that I had. EF was just starting in India. It was the first cohort in Bangalore. I really like Bangalore, so I wanted to just have an opportunity to go there, explore something new, meet some interesting people, just brainstorm ideas. I honestly did not think I could just up and build a startup. I mean, I was intrigued more by the process, but as a part of my journey through EF, I realized the opportunity that lay before me, the opportunity of meeting my ambitions of affecting human health, utilizing my education and my knowledge and my experience in molecular and microbiology, and translate that research acumen into real world business application. EF encouraged me with that transition, and for that I am eternally grateful. So I really enjoy telling the story where the first day of EF, they were talking about B2B, B2C, and I'm sitting there and Googling what B2B is. And today I'm speaking with investors saying AarogyaAI has a B2B2C business model where our customers are diagnostic labs. So it's been a great learning experience more than anything. And EF has really enabled me, given me the confidence to make this transition and make it fun. I've had so much fun working really hard trying to get this going. And as a co-founder, I have Avlokita, who I've known for 7 years. We were carpool buddies, just nerds, chilling in a car, being stuck in traffic, talking about Harry Potter and magic, to today being co-founders, figuring out where we're going to get our next piece of money so we can pay people who are working with us. So it's been a great journey, and all thanks to EF.
Yeah, well, you came from an academic background. What was the mental shifts that you kind of had to make, and kind of the characteristics that you had to build within yourself to successfully make that shift from academia to entrepreneurship?
It's really interesting you ask that. I don't think it was a switch, and I think
Mm.
I'm still making that shift because
Oh, okay.
my entire existence, my entire being, I have had the academic mindset, and this is something EF really honed in me. Like they really helped me uh, make that transition in the mindset, or rather encourage that transition in a mindset. And I am where I am because of academia, because I have had a particular mindset. And then to implement that in this context of business is extremely challenging, but in a great way. It's
Mm.
really fulfilling when you can. I see the difference in myself, and I feel really excited about it. I think one of the most striking differences has been speed at which science happens. There is
Mm.
nothing more exciting for a scientist than quick results. It doesn't happen. It's not a real thing. But what business pushes you to do, or what a startup pushes you to do, speed is everything. And being able to create something in the time that we have, in about a year, is it's exhilarating to say the least. So speed has been one of the most characteristic aspects of this transition, and also the flexibility of decision making. It's all on us, and this is a conversation Avlokita and I were having yesterday, where we spoke about how for about 6 to 8 months in the beginning we were just in survival mode. Hey, this needs to be done, and it's getting done. But now we're seeing this vision evolve, and now we need to make more thoughtful, teased out decisions for the future of
Mm.
building this massive, spectacular company. So that
Mm.
transition into from, hey, I need to do this, I need to publish a paper, get this done, uh, to, you know, we have to make this for patients who are
Mm.
actually going to be affected. We are going to help decision making processes about what medications patients get.
Mm.
It's just exhilarating for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in an uber optimistic world, 24 months from now, assuming you can get the funding and the talent that you need, what do you think you'll be able to achieve from a and a company standpoint, in terms of what you can provide patients with?
We would have deployed pan India, because India has one third the global TB burden, and then we would
Oh,
be
wow.
hoping to, yes, one third of all TB cases in India, and so just because we're doing facts, 13 million patients, presumptive TB cases in India today as we speak, and every year 2.7 million new cases are diagnosed. That's the statistic, which is why TB is the first infectious disease that we want to attack, because it's such a big problem.
Mm.
So we intend to pan all over India, in the private as well as public sector, hopefully in 2 years, and start entering other high TB burden countries. So there's China, Russia, African nations, South Africa. Then there's also Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Thailand. These are developing nations that have a larger TB burden. That's where we want to be. We're also going to be in 24 months, definitely making R&D for our next possibly couple of products, which where we will scale this software for other infectious disease that manifest antimicrobial resistance.
Mm. That's incredible. Are you guys fundraising anytime soon? Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been extremely fortunate to have partnered with Illumina Accelerator, and we've got sufficient funds to meet this milestone that we have for clinical validation. We foresee for the next phase, we intend to start fundraising in the next 4 or 5 months. So Jan, Feb is when we intend to resume fundraising for our going to market and growth scaling phase.
Interesting. I mean, how much do you anticipate you're going to need to kind of begin that phase?
I think anything from around 800,000 US to possibly 1.5 million, possibly 2 million. I think it'll be premature for me to say a number right
Mm,
now because it's contingent on so many variables,
mm,
and then the pandemic. So we don't know what the situation will be in the world. So we're just taking it one step at a time, uh,
mm.
while cognizant of the bigger picture. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as we kind of wrap this interview up, I was just really curious to know. I mean, how has the pandemic affected you guys, and how did you guys have to adjust? And yeah, how did you have to adjust as a company?
It's been a roller coaster ride. It's just been 6 months, but
Mm,
it's essentially been possibly one third of our existence. Um, March was so we thought, the pandemic will be short lived. This is a short amount of time. So initially we didn't it didn't change. So the good thing about Arogya AI is we've been working remotely since pre-pandemic time. So we didn't really have to create a shift in our working styles or anything. But as it was becoming more and more bleak in the beginning, we were beginning to fret because we were supposed to be in San Francisco from June to December for the Illumina Accelerator. Uh, by May, we didn't know whether that's going to happen at all, what our next 6 months would look like. We wanted to have finished our clinical validation. Um, and with COVID coming in, all tuberculosis resources are being channeled to COVID now because COVID, just like TB, is a predominantly respiratory infection. So all
mm,
infrastructure, all doctors, all pulmonologists, all laboratories that are TB specialized are now being shifted for a COVID focus.
mm,
So that delayed our pretty much everything. It was up in the air. So Avalokit and I were a little dejected for a while, and then we said, you know what, we'll make do with what we have. So we shifted focus on the algorithm. Uh, because of the pandemic, everybody was remote, which means the whole world is in play. So
mm,
we got interns, and people wanted work. People were kind of either losing jobs or not getting their internships. We put out ads and we got interns. So currently, like during the pandemic, for 3 months, we had interns from San Francisco, from Singapore, in Europe, and in India. So we had a global team, and it was really nice because Arogya AI was technically working 24 hours a day, but everybody was getting sleep. We kind of went from a bleak, we don't know what's going to happen, to fine, we've got the whole world now to play with, and we got a team like team people from everywhere. And we're just working from there. So now our algorithm is in a better place. We've got a front end developer from San Francisco who built a lovely user interface. We've got some people putting together the pieces of the algorithm and the bioinformatics pipeline. So, long story short, it was a fairly productive lockdown, and doing things remotely just gives us the ability to do more things. I feel it's a good thing and a bad thing as well. We're kind of struggling a little bit to figure it out. We're doing the Illumina Accelerator virtually, which means we can't get to be in San Francisco, unfortunately. But the team is amazing. They're so cognizant of the fact about the time difference. So we've figured out a great play. It's also been really exciting that we've been part of we've got a couple of grants while the lockdown's been on. We've won a couple of competitions. So spirits are high and progress is on, and we're being productive. And I think that's a good place to be for a startup.
yeah, this is amazing. For final two questions. I mean, if there was a book that you would gift to a fellow startup founder, what book would you gift, right? So you actually have to like them.
I love the Harry Potter series. It's a winner for forever. I think so. I have my opinion on books, especially, like, I love fiction and magic, and I think that there's so much to learn from fiction, and that's just
Mm.
my opinion and point of view. And I have learned from it. Like, I am who I am from those stories. I would gift anyone a Harry Potter any day.
Mm. Yeah. Has it kind of married your practical scientific brain to, the the part of your brain that's creative and full of wonder. And I guess that kind of ties into your entrepreneurial journey right now, right?
Most definitely. Most definitely. The magnificence of it all, the magic essentially is what drives me. Like, you think it's not possible. There were naysayers from the beginning. There are naysayers now. There always will be. You just have to believe, and some things will work out. There have been things that haven't worked out, and I guess it's natural, but you have to believe in magic, I guess.
Final question. What gives you the most fulfillment and gratitude for what you're doing? Because it looks definitely, I know for a fact it's difficult, but it definitely seems fulfilling for you. So I mean, what gives you the most gratitude and fulfillment for what you're doing?
If there is one patient who is going to be given effective treatment right off the bat and is cured from TB the first time that they use the Arogya test, that's when I will be satisfied. And of course, the more the merrier, and we want to have everyone benefit from this. But the day there is one person that is benefiting directly from an AarogyaAI test is when I'm going to breathe this massive sigh of relief.
That's amazing. I really appreciate you jumping on this morning. Is there anything you kind of want to shout out? Are you guys hiring? Any partnerships you'd love to acquire, etc.?
Definitely. So this is a general spiel into the world. If there's anybody who would like to collaborate with us in any sort of way, with whatever skills and expertise you have, get to our website. It's arogya.ai, AarogyaAI, and there's a join us page. We're happy to chat. If you're curious, you don't have to join anything. We're specifically also looking for a business development person who has experience in BD with hospitals and diagnostic laboratories. That is one specific hire that we're looking for. But if you're interested, happy to get on a call. Please visit our website and reach out anytime.
I really appreciate you jumping on this morning. This has been an amazing chat. I've definitely learned a lot.
Thanks a lot, Chetan. It's so fun, this thing that you're doing. I'm a fan. Please keep going. It's so good to know other entrepreneurs through this. I think it's an exciting platform, and good luck.
Thank you very much. We'll end it for now. 1 second.